Religion, renewal, and choice. The three main alternatives to secularization theory are theories of late modernity and postmodernity, religious market theory, and existential security theory. Postmodernity and religion. Theories of late modernity and postmodernity argue that religion is not declining but merely changing as society develops. Therefore, they reject secularization theory. In this view, changes in religion are a result of changes in wider society, such as greater individualism and consumerism, or even as the shift from modern to late modern or postmodern society. Davy argues that religion is not declining but is simply taking a different, more privatized form. Church-going has declined simply because they feel like they do not have to anymore. This leads to believing without belonging. People hold religious beliefs but don't go to church. To evaluate this, the British Social Attitude Surveys from 1983 to 2000 show that both church attendance and belief in God are declining. If Davy was right, we would expect to see higher levels of belief. Vicarious religion. Davy notes a trend towards vicarious religion, wherein a small number of the professional clergy practice religion on the behalf of a much larger number of people who experience it second-hand. This pattern is typical of Britain and Northern Europe, yet in these societies many people still use the church for rites of passage, so baptisms, weddings and funerals, despite low levels of attendance. They are like a spiritual health service, available for everyone to use it when they need it. Similar findings by Bibby's Canadian survey, which found that only 25% attended church regularly, however 80% identified themselves as religious, or with religious beliefs, etc. Davy sees vicarious religion as evidence of believing without belonging. What appears to be a small commitment is actually a wider one. Davy argues that modernization affects every society differently. She argues that there are multiple modernities. Her view is that religion and science will continue to coexist. However, Vowes and Crockett do not accept Davy's view that there is believing without belonging. Evidence from the British social surveys show that church attendance and belief in God are declining. So when people no longer belong, they no longer believe. Postmodernity and spiritual shopping. So Harvey Luger supports the theme of personal choice and believing without belonging. They say that there has been a dramatic decline in institutional religion. This is partly due to what she calls cultural amnesia, or loss of collective memory. Nowadays we have largely lost the religion that used to be handed down from generation to generation. Parents these days let their children decide for themselves what to believe. She argues that individual consumerism has replaced collective tradition. People now feel they have a choice as consumers of religion. They have become spiritual shoppers. We choose the elements of religion that we want to explore or that interest us. Harvey Luger's view can be linked back to ideas of late modernity. So a trend of individualism explains a weakening of traditional collective religious institutions. Lyon. So Lyon says that globalization has led to greatly increased movements of ideas and beliefs across national boundaries. We live in a postmodern media-saturated society that has led to ideas becoming disembedded. This means that the media lift them out of their original context. As a result, religion has become deinstitutionalized. There's religious consumerism, where postmodern society also involves the growth of consumerism. especially the idea that we construct our own identities through what we choose to consume. We can pick and mix elements of different faiths to suit our tastes and make them part of our identities until something more attractive or fashionable comes along. Religious market theory. The key thinkers of this are Stark and Bainbridge. They are very critical of secularization theory, which they see as Eurocentric, as it focuses on the decline of religion in Europe, but fails to explain its continuing vitality in America and elsewhere. They argue that there was no golden age of religion like secularization theorists argue. Instead, they propose religious market theory based on two assumptions. People are naturally religious. Religion meets human needs. Therefore, the overall demand for religion remains constant. It is human nature to seek rewards and avoid costs. When people make choices, they are weighing up the costs and the rewards. Religion therefore offers us compensators. So when real rewards are unobtainable, religion compensates by promising supernatural ones. According to Stark and Bainbridge, churches operate like companies selling goods in a market. While some sociologists see competition between religions as undermining religion, religious market theorists would argue that this competition leads to improvements of the religious goods on offer. Churches that make their product more attractive will gain more customers. So, for example, televangelism. America versus Europe. So the demand for religion increases when there is a choice, because consumers can find one that meets their needs the most. So in the USA, religion is strong because a healthy market exists where religions grow or decline according to consumer demand. But where there is a religious monopoly, as in most European countries, for example the Church of England, the lack of choice has led to decline. However, to evaluate this, Norris and Inglehart say that they show that high levels of religious participation exist in Catholic countries where the church has a near monopoly, for example in Venezuela, and this contradicts Stark and Bainbridge's theory. Further criticisms of religious market theory. Statistics have shown that diversity has been accompanied by religious decline in both Europe and America. Unsociological because it assumes that people are naturally religious and fails to explain why. Norris and Inglehart reject religious market theory. They argue that it only applies to America. They argue that the differences in religiosity all come down to different degrees of existential security. Religion meets a need for security, and therefore societies where people feel more secure have a low level of demand for security. Poor societies face high levels of risks, so starvation, disease, drought, and these high level insecurity and thus have high levels of religion. Rich societies face less risk, so high levels of security and less need for religion. Thus, the demand for religion is not constant, but varies within societies. This explains why poorer third world countries remain religious while Western countries are becoming more secular. However, to evaluate this, Norris and Inglehart only see religion as a negative response to deprivation and ignore the positive reasons why people have for religious participation.